and patches stories grow, stitching secrets we all know. Patchwork of laughter sewn in time, a spool of joy on every line. We chat, we sew, we laugh, we thrive. Stephen and Walter, our life. Sewing tales with every square, buttons falling everywhere. A crooked seam, but who will care? Iron presses lined so neat, friendship's quilt can't be beat. Patchwork of laughter sewn in time, a spool of joy on every line. We chat, we sew, we laugh, we thrive. Stephen and Walter, our life. Sewing tales with every square, buttons falling everywhere. A crooked seam, but who will care? Iron presses lined so neat, friendship's quilt can't be beat. Patchwork of laughter sewn in time, a spool of joy on every line. We chat, we sew, we laugh, we thrive. Stephen and Walter, our life. Our life. Stitch by stitch they weave the tale, a patchwork life where laughs prevail. Patterns clash, but who can tell? Quilted chaos suits us well. Stephen and Walter live on air, threading humor, they don't care. Teaching, chatting, pulling strings, life's a quilt of funny things. Pins and needles, jokes abound, sewing secrets they have found. Fabric flying all around, it's a show where joy is bound. Stephen and Walter live on air, threading humor, they don't care. Teaching, chatting, pulling strings, life's a quilt of funny things. Pins and needles, jokes abound, sewing secrets they have found. Fabric flying all around, it's a show where joy is bound. Stephen and Walter live on air, threading humor, they don't care. Teaching, chatting, pulling strings, life's a quilt of funny things. Pins and needles, jokes abound, sewing secrets they have found. Fabric flying all around, it's a show where joy is bound. Pins and needles, jokes abound, sewing secrets they have found. Fabric flying all around.
Okay, hello everybody. We got started a couple of seconds late because Walter couldn't make up his mind whether he wanted to bring his shirt down. He's working on to show you or not. We'll get to that in a minute.
I showed you last week too, so but
Fine.
Okay, hello
Okay,
everybody.
good. We've got sound. That's good to know. We know that's working. Okay, so let's see who is joining us today. We've got Charlotte right off the bat. Hi, Charlotte. And right on her heels is Nina and Mary. And Dan is here. Hi, Dan. I hope you're recovering with everything. Well, she says it's rainy in Regina. Faith is here. Hi, Faith. Miss John Wednesday. Not at home. Not at home. Y2S. Okay. From Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, says it's rainy there as well. Suzanne is here, and Sue Norfleet is here. Lots of rain this morning, but the sun's out now. It's really steamy out there. Everybody's getting rain. We didn't have any rain today. It's beautiful.
supposed to rain tomorrow.
Oh, well, we'll get everybody else's rain tomorrow then. Mona is here. Jeannie is here, and Judy is here as well. Dubravka, she says they're back from their vacation, and they're glad to be here. Well, I hope you had a good time, Dubravka. And Arda is here too from San Diego, where it's very nice today, and Gloria as well. Barb is here, and East Coast Kim is here as well. The other Judy is here, and she says it's beautiful weather today in Stony Creek. Yeah, I would anticipate, since Stony Creek and us, well, we're on opposite sides of the city of Toronto. But yeah, it's nice to have some nice weather. Joanne G is here, and Caroline is here as well. And Jen Dale is here. And from, of course, land down under. So that's why she's saying good early morning, gentlemen, because it's Monday morning in Australia. And Karen B is here too as well. And so I'm sure a few more people will be joining in as we get here, and we'll say hello to them as they arrive too. But in the meantime, happy Father's Day to all you mothers who are fathers out there, because right now I don't see any men on here. Well, Al's here. I know Al's here with Dubravka. So yeah, Father's Day. I forgot all about it because
actually I kind of forgot about it.
We don't have fathers anymore.
Yeah, well, I haven't had one since 1993. So
no, that's true. You killed him early. Yeah, my dad passed away 2014.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah, 2014. Jeez, it's been what's that? 11? 12? 12 years. Wow. It's hard to believe it's 12 years that Dad's been gone. Well, at least don't have to get him a gift. That was always a problem with Father's Day.
Yeah, my dad was hard to buy for too. So.
You never knew what to get my dad with that. So he always said he didn't want anything. Well, yeah. Adam's here. And Jen is also here. The other Jen. So yeah, so happy Father's Day to anybody who's celebrating Father's Day, or if you've got husbands that you're doing something nice for, or I suggested Walter we have Chinese food tonight for dinner, and I forgot all about Father's Day, and not a good time to go and get takeout or pick up or anything like that, because that's what a lot of people do. Isn't that funny? Well, I guess that's okay. On Mother's Day,
they don't cook either.
No, that's right. Oh, we're going to get comments now. Watch, they'll come in. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we don't believe you. Sally is here, and Pam is here too as well. So welcome. Okay, so today is also June the 21st. It is the first official day of summer, and it is the summer solstice. So this is the longest day of the year. So now they get progressively shorter as we go the other half of the year. That was badly done. In the summertime, the days should be getting longer rather than, bang, we start summer and we start with the longest day of the year and move our way back. Yeah, I know it has something to do with the celestial heavens and everything like that, but whatever. Adam says, Father's Day, neither dog bought me anything. Rude. Bad doggies. Bad doggies. It's okay. Our cat never got, well, we weren't fathers. Well, we were servants to the cat.
We were daddies.
Yeah, we were daddies. What'd you get your daddy? Something in leather and chap-like? I don't know. Gloria says beautiful weather where she is today in Western New York. Okay. Yeah, it's very nice today. I was thinking tonight, since we're having shish kebabs, maybe we should sit out on the deck
Could be.
and admire our plants. The plants are looking quite nice. We had our first strawberry from our strawberry plant. We may not get any more, but it's one of those ones that, you get strawberries.
I've never grown them before, and I thought, well, let's try that.
Mhm.
Something different.
And he's got all this stuff, gerbil straw, whatever it's called, in it.
Well, you're supposed to put straw down to keep the berries from hitting the soil but mind you, some of them are hanging over the edge.
Well,
so.
nobody wants their berries dragging on the soil.
Oh yeah.
But age is gravity's not your friend at our age.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a joke in there somewhere. Gloria said her dad passed away in '99. So yeah, well, it's kind of sad that we don't have our fathers.
Well, my parents were more senior when they had me, and then on top of that, then my dad.
You were in a mistake.
Yeah, I was
in so many ways.
I was an oops.
You're an oops. You're still an oops. Yeah, I was sort of an oops too. But my parents were very, very young when they had the oops.
They're the other extreme.
Yeah, they're the other extreme. They're teenagers, so oops. I'm sure at the time that's not how they felt about it, but oh well. It seemed to last. So, yeah, what we were talking about, strawberries, and the other plants are doing quite nicely out there. We've got
yeah, but they're not growing quite as fast because we've been getting some cool
cooler
weather. So
actually,
they really need a lot warmer weather.
This is the first day where we've had like kind of very nice warm weather, but it's not hot. It's only 23 degrees C. So, that's just comfortable. That's not hot. I don't know what but you said you saw something the other day that said that we're going to have a cooler
Yeah, no, I heard something. Somebody was discussing it on the news or something, that we're expecting this summer to be a cooler summer.
Yeah. That might not be so bad in terms of forest fires. I don't know. There's more rain, but yeah. But anyways, we have here where we live in Canada, we don't have a lot of warm weather, so we're all hanging on to it.
This is Florida of Canada,
where we live. Yeah,
yeah. Imagine Ontario. The rest of the place. Let's ask Dubravka how many warm days they get in Timmins.
Well, I mean, we bitch about having only 2 seasons in this area, like winter and construction.
Or somebody that lives in Saskatoon, I'm sure they'll get.
In Timmins, they only have 2 seasons: construction and black flies. And probably out west, at least in Winnipeg, it's mosquitoes and construction. So we know about mosquitoes in Winnipeg. We laughed, but only for a minute. I remember this was years and years ago. Our first trip back in the 80s, and we drove across Canada, and we drove to Winnipeg. And we're getting ready in the morning to go out and explore the city of Winnipeg. And we're seeing this thing on the news, mosquito index. And we laughed. We went, oh, really? No. We had shorts on. We went out. We were
outside and we saw this black cloud
descending.
This sort of shadow in the sky during the day descending, and it was a swarm of mosquitoes.
Yeah, and mosquitoes love Walter. But we were only out for 5 minutes. We ran back to the hotel room to put on long pants and the whole bit. Meanwhile, Walter was covered in blood. The mosquitoes love to feast on him. He is the best repellent. Have Walter at an outdoor picnic. Put him over in a corner. You won't have any mosquitoes bugging you. They'll all be on him. All the time they go for him. Adam says he went for a walk today, and there's a bank along one of the streets close by covered in wild strawberries. And Jen wants to know if he picked any. Gloria's across the lake, Ontario from you. So what, Gloria, over in Buffalo, Rochester, that area? Colleen's here. Hi, Colleen. So anyways, it'd be nice if... I don't mind the heat, well, especially when you have air conditioning. Who cares? One thing that's been nice with this weather is we can open up the windows and everything in the house and get a nice breeze through. And I like that because I don't like the air conditioning going 24/7 if you can avoid it, because the air gets stale. Also, it uses up electricity, but more so the staleness of the air. I like a nice little breeze blowing through, rippling Walter's hair in the whatever's left.
Well, it's like your hair doesn't ripple.
But it's hair.
Yeah, that's because you've got like all that stuff in it.
What stuff? A little bit of gel. Just a little bit of gel to give me that, bouffant look. Yeah.
Hardly any black flies and mosquitoes in Timmins for 2 years
Oh.
when we were in Kingston. They're almost ate us alive.
Strange. Yeah.
Hardly any black flies.
Hardly any, yeah.
That's
That's
because
weird.
that's because it's too cold up there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I think they just got rid of their snow. Kim says, hopefully the heavy tick and fly season is over. Now it's ants and mosquitoes. Okay. She kept us shivering in anticipation with that. Ants and mosquitoes. Yeah. We have mosquitoes, of course.
We have ants too.
Yeah.
Actually, that reminds me, I have to spray some stuff out there.
Are you seeing a lot?
Up in the sidewalk and stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Every year, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And they eat our front tree too.
Oh.
They're buried in there too.
You mean the big
Carpenter
tree?
ants, yeah.
Oh, carpenter ants. Oh, geez. I thought I heard little drills and hammers going. No ticks in Timmins. Yeah, I don't know if we have ticks right here or not, but then I'm not taking a chance walking out in the
we're
woods.
not walking out.
We're not walking out in the woods with them to it. But I did hear something the other day. Someone was talking about they saw a tick on their kitchen table and they don't live in the woods. So I don't know. Must have been an urban tick. So what have we been working on? Well, I've been working, of course, on my Japanese quilt. And it's coming along. I'm happy with the design that I have chosen and what I'm chosen.
Are you going to show anybody?
Oh, I guess I should put that up, shouldn't I? I would, well, finally, you did something in your job. You didn't tell me to turn the mute off, but it's off. Anyways, I am doing what you see here. It'll be bigger than this. There'll be more stuff on it. I haven't decided whether I'm going to have sashing or not. I will have negative space if I don't do the sashing in blocks, but that might not be a bad look. It's a work in progress. I'm slowly but surely working on it. Yes, there are no foundation paper pieced kimonos. And I know some of you are very upset with me because I don't have the kimonos. And you have told me this. And here's what I tell you. My quilt, not yours. Too bad. Go away. But anyways, I have had some problems with this when it came to the embroidery, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that on Tuesday on the Idiot Quilter. I'll save that for then. But that's what I've been working on. And Walter, how are you doing with your shirt?
Well, actually, I didn't get around to it until I did some on last Saturday. I didn't get around to it till today. I joined Russ's sew-along for a couple hours, and I did manage to get the sleeves finished and the side seams finished. So it's still going. I got to do the hemming and the collar and the buttons yet. So it still looks the same.
Yep, it does. So what did you get done today? I wasn't paying attention.
It was the sleeves. I had set the sleeves in last Saturday, but I finished them today. And top stitched them, and I did the sides.
You realize as you're looking at this,
I did the sides and top stitched them as well. I don't know; they can't see the stitching anyway.
Well,
so.
but you're sitting there looking down and talking away, and
Yeah. So anyway, so it's coming along. I did do something today that I've never ever done before.
What?
Tried to sew my finger.
Oh, good.
I just about hit the ceiling when it happened.
I'm sure you did. So, like, how?
I didn't go very far. I caught the corner of my finger, but it was enough. It was enough to make me yell. It wouldn't be enough. It didn't make me yell. It just made me go, ooh. And it hurt for bloody hell for half an hour.
Ooh. Did you draw blood?
Yes, it was bleeding pretty good.
Did you get it on your shirt?
No, actually,
Oh, well,
I didn't.
thank God.
So now it's Band-Aid.
Well, you're an idiot.
It stopped hurting.
Oh, well, that's a good thing. Did you put some ointment on it?
No. I just wrapped it up.
Well, let's see here. Kim says, hopefully the heavy tick and fly season is over. Now it's sans mosquitoes. Yep. And ticks in a quilt looks beautiful. Thank you. Gloria says, my son and family went fishing today and he caught a 19 3/4 inch largemouth bass. Okay.
Well, a quarter of an inch short of a 220.
Yeah, damn. Throw it back. Judy
Couldn't you
says,
stretched it a little?
yeah, yeah. Well, that's not what people usually do when they come out and they say, "Oh, the one that got away" or whatever. Fish stories. Judy says, "Wow, the quilt's looking good." Oh, thank you, Judy. Gloria says, "Ticks live in the grass, not necessarily the woods." Oh, okay. Well, I don't want one, thank you. Faith says it looks bigger than your usual shirt.
Nope, same size.
It's just not all sewn up yet.
It's not all sewn up yet. Exactly the same size.
Wait,
same
Faith,
pattern.
what are you implying?
That I've gotten wider? No, it's the same size I have always had. It's actually, this shirt is wider than it normally is. Yeah, same size. It's just that it's if I hold it up like that, it's separated. The back, maybe you just need to see the back. I mean, it does look big, but that's the way I'm built. But that's the same size.
Yeah,
when I make him a shirt, I use one size bigger.
So Bonnie says her daughter has found ticks in her yard in North York. Well, I guess they're everywhere. Yeah. So watch out for those ticks. I said ticks. Okay. So just before I forget, next week, no Stephen and Walter live. You have a week off. Reason being is we are going over to Walter's nephew's place for our great nieces. They're both, you've heard us talk about them. They're both very, very musical. They play a multitude of instruments. And every summer they put on a little concert for the family at their place. Usually it's on a Saturday, but this year, for some reason, it's on a Sunday. And we're supposed to be over there for 2:00 in the afternoon. So, yeah, we'd hate to listen and run. They usually have pizza and that. So we just decided it just makes things a little easier. We'll just not have Stephen and Walter next week. I know you're sad, you're crying, you're begging. Yes, that's what I choose to believe. But we won't, so we won't have that. However, on Monday, not this Monday, okay, let me reiterate that. Not this Monday as in tomorrow. But 1 week from tomorrow, which would be June what's today? Today's 21st, be the 28th, June the 29th. That is the last Monday of the month. So that means that Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen will be a live production. So we get rid of one live for a week, but we have another live. So yeah, so no Stephen and Walter live next week. Gloria says, "Ouch, Walter, about your finger." And Faith goes, No. I think it is the fabric. Oh, nice recovery. Yeah, right, Faith. Ha ha. Yeah. Joan says, "Hi guys." Hi, Joan. Okay. So, what is coming up? Well, as usual, sewing with me on Wednesdays. Walter will not be here. He usually isn't on a Wednesday thing because he usually finds anything else to do except be on that day. And so he's going out to lunch on Wednesday with a friend who just had a birthday.
Yeah. Actually, this is a guy that I used to know for a while, about 20. I think I haven't seen him much for about 20 years. I bump into him every once in a while. And out of the blue, every year at his birthday, I always send him a card. And every year at his birthday, says we should get out for lunch. And every year we don't go. So this year he said, "Well, let's go for lunch." I said, "Okay, fine."
I'm not invited.
No.
Walter goes out for lunch a lot. I'm never invited. No.
You can go out for lunch.
I can't. I have my girls.
Yeah, well,
on Wednesday.
Okay, well.
How convenient for you to have lunch when I have a soda. The plot sickens. Anyways, yeah. So Wednesday soda, links in the show notes. Last week, what did we put up? Okay, on Monday Morning Coffee with Stephen, I talked about the big Bambu Labs sale. They only have it twice a year. Once in June and once on Black Friday. So I did maybe get a little crazy with ordering filament because it was a damn good price, 26 boxes of filament. It damn near must have killed the guy when he delivered it. Well, there were 2 boxes. because each spool of filament weighs 1.1 kilograms, which is basically
2.3, 2.2 pounds.
Pounds, yeah. So, 26 times all of that. That's,
You said 1.2 kilograms?
1.1.
1.1 kilogram. Why 1.1?
I don't know. It just works out that way. That's the way it is. But anyway, so I got quite a supply tomorrow on the vlog. I will be talking a little bit more about that and showing you this. And on Idiot Quilter, I was talking about my struggles with designing this quilt that I've just shown you pieces of. And on So Chatty, we did something. This was a suggestion from a viewer about, why are some people creative and some people don't consider themselves creative? And we looked at the whole possibility, is there a creative gene? So we talked all about that on So Chatty on Friday. So if you haven't seen that, you might be interested in seeing that. And please, if you have, you hear me say this all the time, but it's very true. I read every one of the comments that you put in to any of the things that I put up during the week. And out of those, I basically glean topics for our live and for So Chatty, especially. So, I like to do what you want us to do or what you want to hear more about. So please, don't be afraid to make suggestions as to, topics you would like to see us do. Because, as I've said before, I may not do the exact topic you have for one reason or another, but oftentimes it spins off into another idea that comes from that I hadn't thought of before. So, yeah, we need you for your input, for sure. Okay, so what's going on? Anybody else join us yet? Nope. Okay, so what's going on in Canada? Well, we had a historic World Cup win. The Canadian men's national team secured a historic 6-0 victory over Qatar in Vancouver, marking their first ever win at the men's tournament. Yay. Can you tell I'm so excited? Though people that are into this kind of stuff, holy crap. They look like they were all going to, like, their heads would explode. They were so excited. You thought that somebody had just discovered world peace or a cure for cancer. Priorities, people. Priorities. And of course, our parliament, our federal government, is on summer break. But before they went out, the Liberal government highlighted 21 bills passing through the House of Commons as members of Parliament officially adjourned for the summer season. And that's caused all kinds of controversy because now, of course, the opposition says, well, you're forcing bills through because you have a majority and we didn't get a chance to really debate it or consult and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And most of those bills that they passed were just housekeeping bills anyways. I mean, they had one, and I'm still not sure exactly what they did, but it had to do with parole and prison sentences and stuff like that, which the opposition and others have all been going on. There needs to be stricter and this kind of thing. So from what I can tell, one of the things they passed, they have made it a little stricter. There are now people saying they haven't gone far enough, but then the opposition's now saying, well, yeah, but we don't have room in the prisons for all these people. If you don't give them parole, then where are you going to put them?
Yeah, as I heard, that prisons are pretty full up as it is.
Yeah, they are.
Because one of the ladies I used to work with, her son's a prison guard, so.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I don't think that's a bad thing, especially lately there have been children involved. Like their 12-year-old stabbed a guy.
The 12-year-old shot
No, he shot him. He had a gun. Like, where'd you get the gun, kid? Well, apparently, if you know the right channels, I guess you can get it. They're illegal. But I think our government needs to concentrate more on that, too.
There's older thieves recruiting young people
Yes.
to do their work because of the Young Offenders Act.
Well, see, there is something that needs to be reformed. This is the Young Offenders Act, and I've said that before. These kids that are in the crime and that, they know the Young Offenders Act, and they know they're just going to get slapped on the wrist for this kind of thing. I think they need to be tried in adult court. You kill somebody, I don't care if you're 14, 15, or 16 years old. You killed somebody. That's murder. You need to be tried for that, not sent to juvie for a few years. No. And all these bleeding hearts that go, well, the poor little precious didn't know what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. They knew exactly what
If they
were
know how
doing.
to steal a car, and then he was still in the process of stealing a car.
Yeah, I know.
12.
Yeah, 12. Like, it's what's happening to it. Bad parenting. I always blame it on parenting. I'm sorry, but I do. You know, or lack thereof of parenting. But anyways, yeah, so that's happening. And of course, the U.S. have a temporary ceasefire. And when I say U.S., I mean Trump has a temporary ceasefire with Iran. But I guess Israel didn't get the memo. And why does everybody pussyfoot around Israel? Let's just say who caused the war. Israel. And Trump was used by Israel for this war, for their own means. He's stupid enough to be manipulated by that. But this is crazy, you know? And it's showing. Is there any wonder that there's unrest and violence in our own country here in Canada where people are shooting at a synagogue or stuff like that? I mean, yeah, you know, but, you know, Israel doesn't want to get on the bandwagon with it. So, yeah, we'll see. 60 days of ceasefire, so they claim. I don't think that's going to last. And in fact, I thought I heard something this morning or yesterday that they'd already, or I think it was Israel, were blasting away at Hamas again. It's funny. Hamas is in people's basements. Hamas is in people's apartment. Hamas is everywhere, according to the Israelis. Okay, that's why they got to blow up people, you know, because they're hiding Hamas. I don't know if they are or not. Who knows? We'll never know. But anyways, yeah, that's the state of our world. So let's see. Dubrovnik says Canada only won because they played the worst team. We are not soccer fans. Yeah, okay, that maybe is true. I don't know.
You gotta go up to
what?
where
Oh, Sherry's here. Hi, Sherry.
yeah, and Arterburns.
Oh, and Arterburns, yes. Oh, okay. Artist says, Walter, what type of interfacing do you use for the collars in the front of the buttonhole closers? I got my finger caught under the embroidery needle, went through the bone. Ooh, had to go to ER. But then you had a lovely design though. But so what kind of interfacing do you use?
I used to use, before most of the time I was using Pellon SF101. I like it, but it sometimes makes the collars go a little wrinkly when you wash them out. So, I mean, you can just iron it out again, which isn't a problem. But the guy that taught me how to sew uses Sewer's Dream. It's a little bit hard to get a hold of, and it's more of a polyester, a lightweight polyester. And it's a little harder to work with than Pellon SF101, but I do like the results better. I think the collars are a little nicer. They're a little bit softer, and I like I've been using that instead now. So
yeah. Jones says, Stephen, can you show 3D printing? I have no idea how it works. Well, Joan, I have. On several occasions, I have done videos on that. Maybe it was before you became a subscriber to the channel. But I'll think about that and see. I don't know if there's going to be an interest in it or not, but yep, thanks for the suggestion. I'll see what I can do. Dubrovnik says, oh yeah, we read that. The Steaming Bean is here. I would rather deal with 2 old quilter dudes than young offenders.
Well, we don't shoot people.
You're not funny, Steaming Bean. Just want you to know.
That's Scott, isn't it?
That's Scott. Yeah. Ha ha. Barb says, I am a follower of true crime in the USA, and lately parents are getting charged and thrown in jail for their children who are killing, mostly taking guns to school. Well, you know something? That's a good thing. I hadn't heard that or read that anywhere, but yep, if they can do that, then that's probably a good deterrent too. With it.
But sometimes it's hard to find parents.
Yeah, that's the big problem
because some
there.
of these kids are on street and stuff like that.
And that's the thing. Okay, yeah, you can have a bleeding heart for these kids who come from broken homes or they've been kicked out and they're on the street and they fall into this way. And yeah, there needs to be more social services out there to help these people. Um, for sure. But everybody has a hard luck story in their life, you know, and you learn how to cope. And if you've already have some sort of moral standing already put into you at some point, everybody knows what's right and what's wrong. Whether you've got good parents or bad parents, or no parents or whatever, it's innate in us as human beings that we know what's right or wrong. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Putting them in prison is not the best answer, but right now it's about the only alternative we have until somebody comes up with some other way to do it. Mind altering drugs, I don't know. Something like that. Cut out a piece of their brain. Now they've tried that.
Ice flow on Northern.
Put on an ice flow. Yeah, that's always good. Yeah, whatever. So anyways, yeah, so that's what is news. This was kind of a slow week for news. Um, you know, because it's the same old. So anyways, but last week we talked about that whole turning point thing, and I hope some of you actually explored that a little further to see what, you know, the videos that are out there about it. And I hope for the most part, most of you were completely disgusted by it, because you should be, especially women. But there was a comment that was written about that from one of our viewers, Jeannie Allen, and she wrote, "Many young women are choosing not to marry. They feel that so many men in American society want a servant rather than a life partner. If women have no rights or financial opportunities, in order to stay alive, they may feel forced to marry. Men who seek to have ultimate control often seek out women who are not secure and then convince them that they will not survive without them. Thus, the woman begins to believe this. We often now raise young women to understand that their own self and their own lives are important, that their own young women to understand that their own self and their own lives are important, but I'm not sure we are raising young men to understand what a life partner looks like as opposed to a servant. The issues are huge. Sadly, in both cases, the majority of white women in America voted for Trump. I'm beginning to believe that I have had a false sense of what American citizens have evolved to in 2026. That has been one of the hardest things for me to grasp, that so many American citizens are still racist, sexist, homophobes, and all the rest. But that last part goes a little bit beyond what we're going to talk about today. But I think I have to agree from a point of view of working with kids, high school kids, for many years. And at one point in my teaching career in the 80s, early 90s, there was a whole movement. Like, girls in high school were starting to get a sense of who they were and that they had power and that they could become whatever they wanted to become in the world. They didn't have to bow down to what society turned around and say what they should be. But then by the time I finished my teaching career, no, the girls were also coming to the what I call the bimbo Barbie look. You know, the little crop tops with the midriff hanging out, the little short shorts when the weather was warmer, and the whole bit. And the guys, of course, were all drooling, because that's what 14, 15, 16-year-old boys do. They drool. You know, you walk down the hall and you go flip, flip. You have to keep sticking their mouths back together again, because, you know, a girl walks down the hall, and these girls knew their power with that, but it was a sexual power. Boys apparently weren't attracted to intellectual girls, and girls knew this. And so girls would stop taking math. But they take it in grade 9. In grade 10, they were steering away from the maths. They were steering away from the sciences as well, because they didn't want to seem too brainy. Which was dumb. That was dumb. Because society was telling them, that's not going to get you a man. And that seemed to be the goal, getting a man, a protector, someone who would worship you. But the boys, on the other hand, you know, two kinds of girls out there. There's the kind that you, for lack of better words, have fun with. And then there's the kind you marry and you take home to mom. So, yeah, girls have it kind of difficult. Which role do you play? Which one is it? So it really depends on what the influence is on them to tell them what a woman is. And that's pretty sad. But I think it's much more complicated than that. So I did some research, as I do. And I wondered why, and I called it, is our generation creating monsters? Because what are we creating? You know, we talked last week about Turning Point, and Turning Point's basically saying that women don't go into the corporate world, don't get a higher education. Your chief job is to look after your husband, look after your house, bring up children, and have children. And that's what you're good for. That's what you should do. And then, as I said last week, these women are buying into this, which is crazy. So I thought, well, first of all, what is the definition of a modern woman? And I found this. A modern woman is defined not by her appearance or trends, but by her autonomy, adaptability, and the freedom to define her own path. Breaking away from rigid historical stereotypes, she navigates the complexities of the current era by balancing personal ambition with individual choice. Wait, that's a definition of a modern woman. That's a good definition for a modern woman. How many women right now are fitting into this definition? So the core traits of this modern woman should be autonomy. She maintains financial and emotional independence, making choices out of desire rather than structural necessity. So in other words, she's financially independent from men. She doesn't need a man in her life to have financial success. Resilience. She balances career growth with the personal mental load, navigating systematic challenges with adaptability. Okay. Duality. She confidently blends traditionally soft traits like empathy and kindness with strong traits like ambition and assertiveness. Okay. Self-determination. She defines success on her own terms, whether that means rising in a corporate career, choosing to stay home, or opting out of a traditional family path. These are the ideals. This is what women, the equal rights movement, and everything we're striving for. They have not achieved this. If anything, they go backwards. I mean, I just said, women are looking for men for financial independence. They're looking for this duality, you know, that they're still have their feminine characteristics, empathy and kindness, but they are strong, ambitious, and assertive. Well, you know what strong, ambitious, assertive women in the corporate world get called by the men? Let's see, starts with B. Yeah. Self-determination. She defines her success on her own terms. She is master of her own destiny. Well, I don't know. I'm around a lot of women a lot of times, and what I hear is the exact opposite of this. Well, I'll have to ask my husband. Well, he wants to do this. That doesn't sound like self-determination. They have structural challenges, the mental load. Modern women often face the pressure to have it all, balancing professional milestones with unrecognized household or emotional responsibilities. Well, yeah, that's true. Women are, you know, they're out in the corporate world. They work all day. They come home at night and they're expected to put food on the table and to look after the kids and to look after the house. So that isn't right. Contradictory expectations. Society frequently pressures them to be both fiercely powerful and traditionally gentle, leading to unrealistic standards of perfection. Yeah, you know, you see it on the commercials. Remember way back in the 70s? I can get the bacon in the pan and I can look after my man, but I've been out working all day. Like this idea that women can do it all. Women are human beings. They can't do it all. You can't be all things to all people. And when I say to all people, I mean to men. So we have an unrealistic definition of what a woman is. What about a man then? A modern man? A modern man is defined by emotional versatility, self-awareness, and the rejection of rigid traditional stereotypes. Rather than being measured solely by physical dominance, financial monopoly, or emotional stoicism, he integrates classic strengths with traits traditionally labeled as feminine, such as empathy, vulnerability, and active communication. In other words, a modern man is one who's not afraid to break out of the boundaries of sex roles, and he can be emotional and cry. And we see a lot of movies, usually romantic comedies and that, where the guy is so sensitive and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, in reality, are men being trained to be that way? I don't think they are. So they say it can be broken down to several core dimensions: emotional intelligence and self-awareness, embracing vulnerability. He communicates his fears and struggles openly rather than hiding them behind a mask of stoicism. Not really. Look at sports. Big boys don't cry when they get hurt on the field. Soccer player, Canadian soccer player, broke his leg on the field. He's being very stoic about it. A lot of pain, but very stoic about it, Yeah, because real men don't cry, even when they get hurt. Active self-reflection. He actively evaluates his behaviors, values, and mental well-being, often seeking resources like therapy. Oh, yeah, right. When was the last time you had therapy?
No, but what about your nephew? I shouldn't say that. Anyway.
Well,
there are other people in our family that, although they're male, have had therapy. Whereas when we grew up, that wasn't an option.
No, that it wasn't an option. However, you have to question the therapy. Sometimes was it the male's choice to have the therapy, or was the therapy put upon him by someone else?
That's a possibility.
Like parents, whatever. Compassionate strength. He balances resilience with tenderness, understanding that true capability includes knowing when to care and listen. Some men, yes.
I think maybe was it. I think you're in the past, when in the 50s and whatever, or 60s, the real stereotypes were still in effect, and it's slowly been changing, but they are still there.
Yes.
Right. I know of some examples of people I worked with that have tried to change the roles or have changed the roles a bit, but this basic roles are still there.
I think there are examples of men who have broken out of the stereotypes, and and they look at their relationship to their wives and that this is a partnership. I'll look after the kids for this and this, and back and forth, and they share parental duties and the whole bit. I think there is some of that, but I think it's going backwards.
Well, they're trying to push it backwards.
Yeah.
We're hearing more and more about movements pushing it backwards.
I mean, basically in our society, in the corporate world, you are truly not a man unless you take control. You have to have the control at any cost. And I think we see that right now in our governments. Our governments are male dominated.
And you'll find that most businesses are still in upper management are still very much male dominated.
Yeah. So, so this ideal here would suggest that everything should be an equal partnership. It should be based more on the individual. Like in job for promotions, you hear like men will get promoted over women. Men still make more money than women in the corporate world. When a woman does get into a position of power, and you've said this before in your job and that she is a bitch.
Some of the things that I recognized when I was working is that some women were really good at being in management positions, but then other women weren't as good because they didn't want to make a decision,
Uh-huh.
and that wasn't really good. So, or and also uh, I also women were second guessing themselves because of the position they were in, but I knew other women that were just fine.
Yeah, but I think that's a rarity. The women that are
There's
fine.
another woman I worked with. I was really surprised at. She she had a couple of kids, and a decision was made that her husband's job wasn't as important as hers, so he took a few years off to in the early years of the kids to help raise them, which is a more modern outlook.
Yeah, and that's what we should be aiming
Yeah.
for all men. But I'm looking back, I'm looking at it from the standpoint of view as a teacher and what I saw. And the boys, there would be some boys that were fine. They were nice, they were considerate, they empathized with the girls. But then there's other boys that would bully them or call them names. They'd call them, oh, you're a faggot, because, that kind of stuff. And that's really hard on a young man to be name calling simply because he's trying to be a human being and nice to somebody else. And they can be turned off of being that way and become something worse because of the peer pressure. Mona says men get paid more. Yeah, I mean, that's a fact. Men do get paid more. And as much as we have laws in Canada that are supposed to not discriminate by sex, it still happens. It still happens. Jen says, even in nursing, a female-dominated profession, men make more, get promoted faster. High levels of management tend to be male. And Barb says, I hate to say this, but I worked in the corporate world 40 years, and so I preferred male bosses to females. And Barb, I have heard that from a lot of women. A lot of women. I have heard them say that. And I know when I was a high school teacher and I taught in the English department, and women in the teaching profession outnumbered the men. I was the department head, but my department was 2/3 females. They were intelligent, they were good teachers, they were wonderful people to work with. However, as a department head, I had the final say on any kind of things that were going to change the department. I would consult with my people, ask them what their feelings were about this, ask them for, let's come up with a plan. How are we going to implement this? But I had some females who were not happy with those decisions, even though they were in part of the decision-making process. And once the decision had been made and everything, and I thought I had the consensus of my department through the meetings, they turned around and would come to me privately and state what they didn't agree with. Why didn't you bring that up in the meeting? You're not in a department that's male-dominated. There's more of you than there was of me. I was not a tyrant. I was there to listen to what they wanted, but I had the final decision because that's what I get paid the big bucks for. But I made my decision based on what they had said. And this is how they would do this. And then if they didn't get what they wanted, they would try to do things that were underhanded. They would basically stab me in the back with it. So, yeah. So how is that supposed to make me feel as a man in a role of, a role of leadership with it? I actually had one teacher come up to me one day and say, I had to change my personality. And I looked at her and I said, well, I let her spew forth. And I says, well, we both know that's not going to happen, hon, because I'm a lot older than you and I've been around a lot longer and I'm kind of stuck in my ways. And then I made her life miserable. Because don't fuck with me. Because I gave her a long piece of rope, and she went and hung herself with it. I was being reasonable. She decided it wasn't going the way she wanted it to go, even though she was part of the consultation process. So you do run into women like that. And I did work for women bosses as well, principals. And I had many that were excellent. They were great principals. But I ran into a few that weren't so great. And the women teachers in my department would come to me and go, well, she has to, and I went in there and she did, so the thing what you just said about women not wanting to work for a woman boss kind of a thing. That was a good example of that too.
I mean, I had a few women bosses in corporate world, and I had a few really good ones, really excellent ones. But I had a couple that weren't so great. I had a couple of men that weren't so great either.
Oh yeah, there's men too aren't great in it as well. But it's okay, and this isn't being sexist. I would rather have had to deal, if I had a conflict with somebody that was of the same sex, I would rather deal with a male than with a female.
Most of my complications were with females were that they weren't direct with me. They would skirt around, they wouldn't make a decision, and they would or they would lie. Outright lie to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that. Whereas my best male bosses were always people that were direct. And even though I didn't like the answer, I was told what I was told I knew was the truth. So,
and I think men tend to respect the hierarchy a little bit more so. When you say no to a woman, she takes that as a maybe. Now, I'm sorry if you think I'm stereotyping, but this is actual experiences that I was through. I had men that were creeps too as bosses. I mean, the same, but I had to deal with them in a different way than I had to deal with women.
However, I never liked a boss that was sexist to his male or female employees, right? And I liked bosses that were fair, whether they're male or female. And I just before I left work, there was one boss hired that actually fired one of the women because he didn't like her because she talked back.
Oh.
And he did not treat the women fairly. And I was surprised that he was able to get away with it.
Well, that's the other problem, because sometimes there's an old boys network.
Yeah.
Too.
I didn't. And what was weird about that is the boss he immediately had above him was a woman. So I still don't understand. He was very sexist, and he got away with stuff that he ended up firing a lot of the women and hiring men instead.
Well, what I've
which
found
I
is,
thought was really crazy.
And I saw this in the girls that I taught, they're not being trained to stand up for their beliefs. If they don't like something that has happened, instead of standing up for it and standing their ground, they will do it in an underhanded way. On the one side of their face, they're smiling and agreeing with you. On the other side, they're sticking a knife in your back. Now, that can be men too, as well. But I think the point here is that I'm trying to make is I think women are conditioned to avoid confrontation, and also to believe that if they come into confrontation with a man, they are going to lose because they have to lose, because that's what women are trained for, to lose. So I don't think that's right. And that, you go back to the Turning Point group, that's what the Turning Point group is telling women to do. Be subservient. And I used to tell the girls, and so I said, you are not a servant to any man. And I gave them the example. They've got a boyfriend at lunch. They're leaning up against the lockers. He's in front of her. He's usually bigger than her. He's got his arm pressed against the locker door. She's here facing him. She can't escape him from this side. And he keeps touching her and shoving her. Not violently, just pinning her more to the locker. And I said, you know what he's doing? I said, he is telling all the other boys out there, you're his territory. Don't come near her. She is mine. And I've said to them, the girls would go, well, that's not true. And I'd look at them and go, I just saw you at lunch with Wayne. And I just saw you at lunch in the hallway with Jack. And where were you guys standing and what were you doing? Well, no, that's not the way it is. And I said, isn't it? They had to think about it. I says, if he's going to treat you like that now, at this point, and you're letting him do that, what's it going to be like someday when you decide you want to, you want to marry somebody? Do you think that behavior changes just because you marry them? No. If anything, it probably gets worse. So think about that, I said to them. You're nobody's servant. You go out, you get a decent education, and you'll get a good job, and you do what you need to do to get ahead in that job and to do what you want to do. Don't let any man tell you what you're supposed to be doing, because you're not going to be happy with that. And said, then you have kids, and then you're trapped. So, I don't know. But this is what this turning point thing is saying to women, to do that kind of thing. Where's my thing here? So, after I heard all of these bull roar kind of definitions of what modern men and modern women are, that's the ideal. But we know the ideal doesn't exist. So, I got thinking, how are we creating these versions? How are we creating these versions, or are we? Is this how we're bringing up our children in here? So we have to look at ourselves. And I say, like, personally, how was I brought up? I was not brought up in an authoritarian, male-dominated household. Now, when I say that is, my father was the head of the household. My mother used to say simple things like, wait till your father gets home. That kind of thing. Now, that's a simple thing. We've all gone through that, I'm sure. However, my parents were pretty much equal partners. My mother was a stay-at-home mother. She looked after the house. She looked at the children. She made sure there was food on the table. But my father did not sit at the kitchen table and demand, I want that on the table as soon as I walk in the door. I'm not eating this shit. You make me this. My father was a very considerate man. He was a very gentle man. And if anything, my mother ruled. Like, whoa, did she rule. But it was more, and that's what I grew up in. But your dad.
Well, I grew up in a very stereotypical household in that, well, you got to remember, my parents were older than your parents, right?
Well,
and
yeah,
my
true.
parents came from Europe. And it was expected that my mother was going to be the homemaker, and my dad would be the breadwinner. And my mother, had to put dinner on the table each night, and she was expected to do that. And my dad was pretty fair in most things except for his dinner. He was not too happy when he didn't get what he wanted for food. But other than that, I never, my parents didn't fight very often. And my mom and my dad talked a lot together about things about the family. So I never felt that there was, I didn't feel like I had a bad upbringing or anything like that. And my dad was open-minded about my sisters about getting an education, or not so much getting an education. In those days, when my sisters were young, the idea was more like you get out and work type of thing. But he wasn't really the type that, oh, you should have a job where you where you're not independent. Like, he thought that was a place for women to be independent. So,
well, speaking of your sisters, your oldest sister married a guy who was Italian background and was very stereotypical. He was abusive to your sister.
Yeah,
and your father told your sister, she needed to get out of that relationship, and your sister didn't listen to your dad.
Yeah. Well, that was before they got married. My dad wasn't happy about that relationship. But she was stubborn and married him anyway, and it didn't work out.
But why did your sister marry him? Because I knew your sister, and when I first met your sister, I thought your sister was a very independent, very smart, very classy lady. And then, but she went through 2.5 marriages, and well, the first marriage, I didn't know that guy.
Yeah, well, that she was married, she was young. She was he was older than her, and a little bit older than her, and more established, and she sort of fell for, oh, he's got some money, and I'll grow up having an easy life or whatever.
So there's the stereotype. I need a man to look after
She didn't
me.
actually end up working in business until after she divorced him. And then her second marriage, she married somebody that was in the same business that she was in, and they had a more equal life where she worked full time and he worked full time. Now they didn't have any children, but it was fairly similar. Like,
Yeah. Well, you always said the second husband was a nicer guy than the first husband.
yeah, but she wasn't so nice,
No.
so
then,
it didn't work out.
and then the last one, who she wasn't really married to, I don't know how you explain that one. She was kind of abusive to him.
Yeah, he
But then he was a bit of a prick too. So
yeah, he was
she had a type.
yeah, she had a type. And she plays all night. She used to play all nicey nice when they first got together. And then after a few years, she became,
Claws came out.
yeah, the claws came out.
Well, my sister, when she dated a lot of different guys, but one guy that we were really not happy about in our family, he came from a Middle Eastern background. And, you know, in that cultures, there's very strict roles for both females and males. And he basically was abusive to her emotionally, and she put up with it in spite of what everybody was telling her. And well, my sister's very headstrong too, so I mean, you can't tell her a heck of a lot. Luckily, she didn't marry him, and the guy she finally did marry, my brother-in-law, well, he is a much better person because he does not abuse my sister. They pretty much have an equal partnership when it comes to bringing up their children and everything like that. She did decide though, when she first got pregnant, that she was going to leave her job, and she had a really good job. She worked in municipal government, and she had an education as well, but she felt that it was more important she stay home with her children and look after them, and she never went back into the workforce except once the kids got, you know, to the point where they were starting to be more independent from that, and she worked for a florist kind of a thing. Which in a way was beneath her educational level, but, you know, she did that. So, but, of course, now her children still live with her. So, I don't know what that says. But anyways, but I was not raised, and she wasn't raised, or my brother, in a household where a man was this, and a woman was this. It was very blended. With it all, it was, you know, whoever had the strength in whatever areas, kind of like what we do in it all. We always love it when somebody says, so which one of you is the woman? Neither. No, we have our strengths, and that's what we play to. So what else influences young people though, or all of us? Well, education system, that's the other parent in this. Books. Oh, I remember books being sexist in the curriculum. I mean, by the time I became a teacher, there was a much more of a concentrated effort not to have books that depicted women as subservient, unless there was a point for that, like The Handmaid's Tale. books where it wasn't all the hero of the story was a male. There was females, and that trickled down in the education system at the lower levels. Like, I'll never forget the big controversy when they came out with the book The Paper Bag Princess. That one, basically the main character is a girl and Prince Charming is in it, and it's kind of follows the classic boy meets girl kind of a thing. And at the end of the book, she turns around and says to the prince that he's a creep and screw off, and off she went and lived happily ever after without him. and that kind of thing. Courses that are taught in school. When we went to school, they still had home ec. What they teach in home ec: how to make an apron,
And it was mostly
how to
girls
make a
and
pie.
boys.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
boys couldn't take it.
No.
Boys could not take home ec. I wanted to take home ec, but boys couldn't take it. We had to take wood shop or automotive shop. Girls could not take automotive either. So that's changed.
Yeah.
Now today, that's not, home ec is no longer called home ec, and they do so much more than learn how to cook. In fact, they look at nutrition, and they look at all kinds of fashion, and learn how to sew, but sew on, not just make themselves a nice little ball gown for the prom, do practical stuff. And boys can take it too if they want, and there's, more boys should. And then there's in the education system, remember the girls' side and the boys' side? You had to line up, you went to recess, you had to I used to sneak over to the girls' side and I get into trouble when I was about grade 1, because I knew a couple of the girls on the other side and I didn't know any other people. And did I ever I remember the teacher grabbing me. You don't line up with the girls. You're on this side. You stay over here. Yeah. But I want to play with the girls. Then there's social media influence. Okay, let's talk about selfies. Because if you want to see something that shows girls and women in derogatory light, that plays on the stereotype of the femme fatale, of the I have to be beautiful for the guys, watch them taking selfies. The poses, the outfits, the makeup. Why do they take so many selfies? And boys do this too. The physical appearance, the kids, the boys shirts off, flexing their muscles and the whole bit. And they send these to each other and to everybody. I mean, okay, come on. That is like Neanderthal. And the role models that we have in society are hyper sexy and hyper masculine. If you're going to be a successful girl, media says you got to look a certain way. You got to look like a tramp, basically. Skimpy clothes. Look at, they go to the stores to buy their clothes. The less fabric, the better. For the guys, it's supposed to be, you have to look like you're, what do you call it? Pumped up and everything like that. They play to all of that. Well, what's that telling these young people what they're supposed to be?
Well, not only that, there's a whole thing about the movement where the kids are supposed to look like models.
Yeah.
And then that's where you run into dietary problems and
stuff like that. Yeah. And that's all coming that. And those are all stereotypes. And it's being perpetuated within our society.
So things haven't changed that much. I mean,
really,
in the
things haven't.
1960s, wasn't it Twiggy?
Yeah,
it was the model.
Yes, and you had to be like rail thin, but that's still there. Let's see. Just seeing what people say.
East Coast Kim said Walter SF-101 shrinks a quarter of an inch, if not pre-shrunk. She says at the top. At the top there.
Yeah.
And actually, if you read Pellon's wording for SF-101, it says it's pre-shrunk. Now, I do believe that it does shrink a little bit. And I have had people tell me you should pre-wash your, or not wash, soak your, what do you call it, your interfacing, which I've never done. I mean, it does wrinkle up your color a tiny bit, but not very much. I mean, Steve has a lot of his shirts, he never ever irons them.
I
and
never
they're
iron 'em.
okay.
Mainly because I don't iron.
They're okay, but I like that the Sower's Dream leaves the collar a little bit more flexible. It's not quite as stiff as using SF-101, and I like that feel a little better. How do you like that one's?
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice and soft.
yeah,
I do have some of my shirts though do have a problem with the collar.
yeah,
They're a little stiff.
yeah.
And like you take
That's
them
the
out.
ones that are made with SF-101.
But this one's
Actually,
nice and
Pellon
soft.
has another interface which I haven't tried yet. I was thinking of getting some, and it does. It's a 9F or something. I can't remember what the number is, and you have to look at for it. And it does suggest to use it for collars and cuffs. So I wouldn't mind giving that a shot too.
Now, see, we're talking about sewing and clothes making. If this was 20 years ago, the only men that would be talking about clothes making would be tailors.
Yeah, tailors. I mean, the years gone by, it was not unusual for men to be tailors.
Yeah. But there is still, there more and more men have entered into the sewing world and the quilting world as of late, but there is still a stigma out there about men who sew because, well, you must be gay. Well,
there are a lot of gay men that
there are a
sew.
lot of gay men
But
that
actually,
sew,
the only reason I think that there's a lot of gay men that sew is because we don't
buy into the stereotype.
yeah, we don't buy into the stereotype.
No.
I mean, we have to, in our own lives, we have to do both female and male roles in the household. So so if I decide I want to sew, or if I decide I want to cook, or I decide I want to do something else, I have to do it myself.
It would be easy for us to fall into to have grown up being the stereotype. My father tried to put me into sports when I was young, and he finally gave up on that because he realized, one, I sucked at it, and two, I wasn't interested. So, I didn't have a father that was overbearing. He just figured it was his duty as a father to introduce me to these things, to give me the opportunity to choose. But when I said I didn't like it after I tried it,
my parents did the same thing in that I had a choice between two high schools. One was an academic high school, and the other one was one that had a high number of shops and construction type. I could go in for a more of a, shops type
more masculine,
and my parents had the idea, oh well, you can come out and learn a trade type of thing. Yeah, well, I found out I sucked at that.
But what I'm saying is, the way we were brought up, we were allowed to make our choices about that. We didn't have overbearing parents that said, no, you have to do this, anything else.
Yeah, like my parents told me, didn't say I had to, but they suggested that, well, since I was a boy, maybe I should consider doing something in a trade type thing. But I found I was more academic anyway, so.
And even my sister was not pushed into take dance class or something like that. Never. In fact, my sister was pumping gas as a summer job, and she actually learned some mechanics stuff at the time too. And my parents thought it was a good thing that she, learned that, but they didn't push her into that. Mm-hmm. She just decided that was something she wanted to do with it. So, but these kids that I saw in high school, they're not. Their parents come into a parent-teacher meeting, and they are telling me what this kid is going to be. And they push them in. I watched so many boys being pushed into sports, and their parents were right down their throat because they had missed a tackle or something, whatever, on the football field or something like that. And I knew several kids that did not like the sports. And they told me, but they had to do it because their dad had been a football star, and they they were going to go to a certain university because they were going to get a scholarship, to play football or whatever sport it was, hockey, that kind of thing. I felt sorry for those boys because there wasn't a bloody thing I could do for them because this is what they were being conditioned for.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how they're surviving today. Are they doing the same thing to their children if they have children? Perpetuating the stereotype kind of a deal? That does not make for happy human beings. So we have the social media, and I think most people would agree that social media still does not show the sexes as individuals. Men are men, women are women. This is the way it works, which is no good. And I was talking about the selfies, and I was talking about the role models that we have. What about the laws, though? The policing and things like that? Well, for example, look at how women are treated when reporting abuse or rape. They are not taken serious enough. They're blamed for it. Well, you did something to lead them on. There's all kinds of court cases that come up all the time. You hear them on the media. And 9 times out of 10, the women don't win the case against the man, or whatever the man gets charged with is lesser than the crime he has committed on that. And that still happens. We have laws that state that one cannot be discriminated against because of gender, but does that really work? I mean, we have them, but if the law is not enforced, then what does that say to women? You are worthless. Yeah, we have these laws, but they don't apply for you. And look at the number of women that are in policing compared to how many men are in policing. And you hear of women who rise up in the ranks of, say, the RCMP here in Canada, and they are sexually, some of them been sexually assaulted with it, or they've been made to feel they're not made to feel equal. Hey, honey, you want to get me a cup of coffee, kind of a thing. And policing is extremely hyper masculine. So is the military. And that's a problem. Okay, big man, you got a gun. Wow. Yeah. And marketing projects this on girls too. I mean, I said already that clothes are revealing, and the movie stars all wear them too. So girls think that the way that you're going to be seen in the world as successful is if you can show more flesh, then people are going to admire you. People do not admire girls for showing more flesh. That makes them look trampish. And boys learn that very quickly, that this is supposed to be what they desire. That's how they're supposed to. These are the kind of girls that they should hang around with.
Well, when we were in Japan, we never saw that so much.
No, we didn't.
In fact, the business people all wore suits,
including the women.
Including the women.
Yep.
They may have worn a skirt, but it was a long skirt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, now that you bring that up, I didn't see, maybe there is sexism there. I'm not saying, I don't know how there couldn't be, but it's not as overt as it is here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even like in toys, we've talked about this before. The toys and advertising. They still advertise toys not as sex neutral. Boys still have big, heavy-duty trucks and violent action figures, and girls still have Barbies in her dream house. It's still there. Now, there is a movement I read about that's called neutral gender parenting. And this is kind of interesting. Gender-neutral parenting focuses on raising a child without forcing them into rigid traditional gender roles or stereotypes. Rather than dictating what a child should like based on their biological sex, this approach lets the child's unique personality, interests, and talents guide their development. To the extent that where I saw this, and I saw a documentary about this in Australia. This is sort of a movement. At least this is where it was reported from that I saw on 60 Minutes Australia. There are people who will not call their child he or she for the first until the child reveals what they should be called as. So some of these people had kids that were 6, 7, 8 years old, that they'd be a boy, they were dressing with a pink tutu and a Little Mermaid on a t-shirt, and they're going off to school like that, or they'd have longer hair and they would do it up, or there were girls that were wearing very, very masculine style clothing. The idea was that they got to pick their gender from that. Now that might be an extreme.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of an extreme.
Yeah.
I think I have more conservative views in that. To me, I'd be afraid that the kid would get ostracized in school.
Yeah, I would be. I mean,
I think it's an extreme. I don't understand. I understand, allowing your kid to play with whatever toy they want to play with.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're a boy or a girl to play with a toy, but dressing them in a pink tutu.
Well, no, they didn't dress them in the pink tutu. The child chose that.
The child chose, but
the child had the control over what they were going to wear, how they felt that day. And there's two kinds here. It said gender expansive parenting is the most common. Parents use the pronouns associated with the child's sex assigned at birth, but remove all structural gender expectations. The goal is to strip away the idea that certain toys, clothes, or behaviors are strictly for boys or for girls. And they say how it looks. A boy is freely allowed to wear a pink dress or take ballet. A girl is encouraged to play with trucks or study robotics. So, okay, well, I don't have a problem with that. Okay. I mean, if the little boy picks that he wants to wear pink colors or something that is more traditionally considered feminine apparel, if that's their choice, I don't have a problem with that, really. Especially in this day and age where clothes tend to be a little more, can be
a little bit more fluid.
But I would question what happens when they go to their school.
Yeah.
What happens with the other kids? I mean, the parents might be open to this, the teachers might be open to this, but all it takes is 1 or 2 kids in the class whose parents come and go, get away from that little faggot, and there are ones that would do that. The other type is called gender open parenting. The they by approach. Parents do not publicly disclose the biological sex of their baby and use gender neutral pronouns like they and them. The goal is to shield the infant from unconscious gender biases of society until the child is old enough to communicate their own identity. And how it looks, the child's sex is kept strictly private among parents and healthcare providers. The child chooses their own pronouns and gender expression when they develop language skills. Now, this is what this 60 Minutes episode focused on, was more this. And I don't know. I mean, our generation, this seems strange. I see what they're doing. I don't know if that's a good thing.
I think there's too many people that think the people that are doing this are too many people that think that the norm is a gender fluid society.
Yeah.
Rather than, I think that's the really more smaller part of the population.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a goal in society to become gender fluid. And I think a good example of how that works is more in our world, in the LGBTQ community, because you very quickly learn not to stereotype. I mean, if you want to see an example of non-stereotypical roles, go to a pride parade, because you're going to see all forms of expression of gender in a pride parade. You're going to see non-binary. You're going to see lesbians, gays, transgendered people, all that kind of thing. And I think the LGBT community has done a very good job of educating people. The only problem is, have they educated the general society. I think they have made general society more aware of it, but once a bigot, always a bigot. I don't know. So what the comments here?
People are afraid to comment.
Yeah, probably. Girls' door and boys' door at the elementary school. Yep.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, every community center had an outdoor rink for the boys to play hockey. That's very true. And the girls used to put on their little white skates and skate in little circles off to the far end or in another part of the arena. That's true. Rachel says, I was a young teenager in the 80s, luckily in a way. No one seemed to care what we did. We did woodwork, metalwork, home, etc., karate, could do whatever we wanted. But Rachel, you're also, I believe, in England, right?
Yeah.
England's always been a little bit more progressive on these kind of things. Here in Canada, in the 80s, well, it was starting, I guess. I was a teacher then. So I did see more of a change as that decade went on. But it was slow. Rachel says, reference toys. My brother-in-law wouldn't buy my nephew a cleaning trolley that he really wants, so I bought it. I said he's going to have to clean for himself at some point. Let him start now. He was 4. Oh, so when you say cleaning trolley, I was thinking of something on a track, but you meant like a cart with a little broom and stuff like that on it, or what people put cleaning products on, kind of thing, but a toy version of it. Yeah, like, I want an easy bake. You've heard me tell the story before. I never got an easy bake. And I really like Barbie's Dream House. But, too, didn't get one of those either. Although I didn't push the issue.
No.
Let's see here. Barb says, female celebrities start the trends with respect to the trampy look. Yep, that's very true.
Yeah, and magazine. Well, I don't know. People don't read magazines.
But it's on the internet.
Yeah, it's on the
It's
internet.
always on the internet. Barb says, wouldn't that play a factor in bullying? Yes. Yeah.
It could, yeah.
Yeah. Most times bullies will pick on someone's gender expression.
Or they'll pick on somebody that looks different.
Yeah. Barb says, when my son was a toddler, he loved to vacuum. Well, sign him up. Like, nothing wrong with that. Keep it clean. But, I mean, some of these things are changing. But if we go back to the thing we talked about last week with the
Turning point.
They want everybody to go backwards in time. And they're trying to do it by justifying it as a Christian thing, a religious thing. And I don't know.
And there are other religions in the world that have specific gender roles.
Well, yeah.
As well.
Well, Islamic.
Yeah, Islamic one where.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. Yeah, there is. But it's pretty sad that in a modern society in the 21st century, we're going backwards on all of this.
Yeah, do we need to go back to a society where women can't drive, women can't have credit cards, women can't
have a job, can't be a
or whatever,
boss in a corporate world,
right? Or can't vote?
Yeah, and here we go with Handmaid's Tale. Right there, Margaret Atwood is so much on the money with that. But anyways, I thought that was interesting. Now, just to finish up here, a couple of comments. Well, the one comment is what I read to you at the beginning, which is what got me started looking at all of this. And then another, Joanna says, I try to be respectful, and this is about the pronouns, because we talked about that too a week ago. I try to be respectful, but they, them is like fingers on a chalkboard. I have a friend who is a she, but she is very militant and says it's proper Old English. I told her we aren't in the Old England, nor are we speaking to royalty. Yeah, I question this friend of hers saying this is proper Old English because I studied Old English. And no, now who knows what her definition is of Old English? If she's talking about Old English as in before Middle English back in the 900s, and that's Old English. That I never came across where they used they and them for a singular pronoun. So, but maybe they're thinking what they might be thinking that Old English is what we associate with the these and the thous and that kind of thing, which also is not Old English nor Middle English. But yeah. Um, but the point she's making is, I think, she says the they, them is like fingernails on a chalkboard. It's because we're not used to it.
Well, we're not used to it. It's hard for us to think in using they and them for a single person.
It is
Our age.
Yeah, it
now,
is
it may be a
difficult.
lot easier for somebody that's younger.
Younger ones probably because they hear it more often and whatnot. For us old farts, we grew up with that's a plural pronoun, not a singular, and so it's not good grammar. But I mean, what does it matter? Who is it hurting? If it helps somebody out that's going through a gender identity crisis or whatever, it shows you're being supportive and you're trying to understand. And I think that's all we can do as individuals. We can try to understand. Will we understand it fully from their point of view? I don't think so. How can we? We're not living it. But we can be respectful of it. I mean, after all, don't we get upset when somebody spells our name incorrectly? Like Stephen. Let's spell it with a V, not a PH. It's how you spell my name. How many people write to me, write comments, and write my name with a PH? I am not a step, but I shouldn't get upset about that. No. But the point being is, if this is what these individuals wish to be referred to, that's their choice. And by referring to them in that manner, you're showing respect for their choice. You may not agree with it completely, but how's it going to alter your life?
Judy, also, it's not just, you said it, women can't drive, need to stay home, can't have a job, sounds like the Taliban. That is also what the Christian right wants.
Yeah, that's what the Christian right wants too. And they base it all upon Genesis. Woman was created as a helpmate, in some translations of the Bible, to Adam, which they turn around and interpret as being a servant to Adam. I don't think that was the intent. I don't know. God and I will have to talk about that.
Somebody says, Stephen, what reason do they have to choose they and them? Because they feel that they're not male or not female. So there are two types of people.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
So they feel they're plural.
But they feel that, well, that's the only pronouns open to them, because the only other pronoun open to them, and it seems kind of insulting, is to call them an it.
Yeah, or he or him.
Yeah. So they have chosen the pronouns of thee and them with it. And yeah, it's awkward, for us, because we've all been raised to, plural pronouns. It's just not proper grammar. But like anything in our language, English language especially is a living language. It's evolutionary. English is one of the few languages in the world that is very adaptable, and it's easy to put new meaning onto words and bring it. I mean, we've had a lot of words. The word gay used to mean happy.
No, two-spirited people are actually gay people.
Yeah, they're gay people. Now, two-spirited is something a little different. From the way I understand it, is that basically they have both male and the female in them. It's sort of union, as in, Yoon said that, we have the female and we have the male. We have the, what do they call it? The persona and the persona or something in us both. And we're a combination of both sexes. And that's kind of what two-spirit is. And they're also considered, they had a lot of respect within Native communities as well. Whereas transgender are seen more by society as freaks, because you're born one way, but you feel you're the other sex. And so I guess in a sense they have both in them, and maybe that's why they use the they and them. I'm not really sure about that. All I know is it's a sign of respect to use the plural pronouns when addressing a transgender person. If you
A non-binary person.
a non-binary person. Yes, a non-binary person.
I mean, part of our problem is that in the time that we grew up, nobody that we knew identified as non-binary.
Yeah, I mean it's foreign to us. We were on sewing day there a week or two ago, and there was but she was transgender, but also used. It's not just binary,
Yeah, okay.
non-binary. Many transgendered people use the plural pronouns as well.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
I think the bottom line is, why do we get upset with it? If somebody walks in and says, my name is Box of Kleenex, we may laugh. Yeah, but then we realize they're serious. So, okay, Box of Kleenex. That's what you are. You're a Box of Kleenex as a name, and I will just have to get used to it. The onus is on us, not on them or they. On it. I don't know. It gets very confusing.
It gets complicated.
Very complicated.
Adam So says there's an episode of Kim's Convenience. Have you ever heard of Kim?
Yeah. That's a Canadian show.
Oh, yeah.
It
Canadian
doesn't come
sitcom that has a whole section on they and them. It's very lighthearted.
Yeah.
And then he says that they says on here.
Z or Zay.
Instead, I have heard of that.
I have heard of that. I've never come across anybody that's ever said, please refer to me in this way. I mean, the best way to work with people who are this way or whatever is to call them by their name.
Yeah.
As much as possible. Find out their name and call them by their name. That avoids the whole awkwardness of the, grammatically incorrect kind of thing. But anyways, so yeah, we got onto that topic now, away from the other topic. I guess the bottom line of all of this is, as adults, we have the ability to influence young people at every chance that we get, and we should influence them in the way to make girls feel that they are worth something, that their worthiness does not come from begging a rich guy. And for boys, it's okay not to go to the gym 24/7 and to have great big muscles and to be abusive to girls. That's not being a man with it. And it's very difficult when you've got all these other forces we've talked about going against all of that. And especially when you've got movements like
Turning Point.
Turning Point. Yeah, scary. Very scary. Okay, so anyways, now you can go off, ladies, and make your husbands a really nice meal for Father's Day. And
ladies and men.
Ladies, no, I'm being funny here. I'm being sarcastic about it after all of this. Thank you for getting that. You didn't. God, you're such a woman. I'm being sarcastic, okay, people, over that. But anyways, have a nice Father's Day with everybody. And yeah, so for next week, no Stephen and Walter live. But if you've got suggestions as to what we could pursue or look at, please send them our way. And everything as usual next week, except for that. So have a good night, everybody.